Hello, Janelle here, and Catherine is hanging out with her brothers. They're playing video games, so it's just me today. And the challenge for today with Just Get It Done, their Declutter challenge is to clean out your books. So I'm going to go grab them, bring them over here, and we'll sort through them and see which books I want to keep and which ones I'm okay getting rid of because they're just not my style anymore, or maybe I already made the quilt in it that I liked, and so I don't really want the other quilts. Obviously, I need to do some organizing so things fit well other places. Okay, so I don't feel like my pile of books is too crazy, so could be much worse, much more books. So let's look through them together and see if it's a book I want to keep or not keep. So this is actually the only knitting book that I have here, even though that reminds me, I do actually have another knitting book that I bought when I was knitting something with a friend. But I have looked at that recently, and I know that I want that book. It's just with yarn to be knitted with it. So I really consider myself a beginner knitter, even though I've knitted some kind of more difficult things. But I've done it all with the help of someone or videos. There's a channel called Purl Together that I really enjoy that does release. It's called Sloth Knitting, I think she calls it. And so she'll walk you through every step of what you're making. So this is one of the things that I have made for me. And I really do like it, but I'm not going to obviously make myself another one probably. So, and this has a lot of kind of shawl-y things in it. Maybe that's what it's called. Oh yeah, Nature's Wrap. So that would make sense. So yeah, I'm just thinking actually this is not something that I probably would use again. It has a lot of, like I said, shawl type things, which is fine, but a lot of them are very loosely knitted, and so they they're, I don't know, just too loosely knitted for me. I would like them, like if I want one, I want it to be nice and warm and cozy because I'm a person who gets cold quite easily. Okay, so the next book is Quick and Easy Window Treatments. I've made a lot of our window treatments, and I used to do alterations, and part of alterations actually is that people would bring you their curtains to hem up sometimes because sometimes they couldn't find the length they needed, or sometimes it was actually cheaper to buy a longer curtain and have it hemmed up, which is kind of crazy, but whatever, you know, curtains are expensive. So if you can get it a little cheaper some other way, that's the way to do it. Okay, then I have a Celtic cross stitch book. I got this when I went to Ireland, you know, maybe 20 years ago now. It was after I graduated from graduate school. So I just need to kind of look through here and see if there's any patterns. I used to cross stitch a lot, and then I kind of got away from it for a long time. And then last year I just felt like cross stitching again. And so I've been cross stitching. I did a house sampler. I'll show it to you. It's right back here. And my kids have been doing some similar projects to this one, and so I figure when we're all done, we can hang them, kind of hang them up all together, framed next to each other. So anyhow, these are Celtic designs. I need to kind of see if there's anything I want to make. This is the one I have marked. It's a horseman, so this one's kind of a tough one. Thinking there's nothing in it that I really, really want to knit, and so, or knit, cross stitch. And so maybe this will also leave. So I think that's where this one's going to go too. So far so good. Okay. This actually goes with my sewing machine. And it might even tell me how to oil my sewing machine. If you were here with me the other days, one of our things we were supposed to do was oil our sewing machine, and I didn't know how to do it. And I did talk to my husband, and he said he does not feel comfortable enough doing it without me looking it up or something, because he actually hasn't ever oiled a sewing machine or doesn't know enough, and he doesn't want to ruin it. So obviously we're going to keep this. I think, yeah, so it should be good. All right, then I have Singer's Sewing Secrets. So I'm just not really sure. All right, I should show you it so you can see. That's kind of ribbon stuff. I don't really do much with ribbon as far as sewing. I don't really like that look necessarily. I do know how to do buttons, zippers. Well, I could probably keep it just for the zippers. I am not a fan of doing zippers. I don't enjoy doing zippers. So in all honesty, I might keep it just for the zippers, which sounds kind of silly, but it's definitely not something I feel like I am good at all. So for now, I'm going to keep it. We'll see how much room is there. Okay. I have this because when I used to do alterations, it's all dusty on the top. People would also bring me wedding gowns or prom dresses or stuff like that. So a friend of mine who also had done and still does alterations way more than I ever did, gave me this book because she said, even though I'm not planning on making a whole wedding dress for myself, it does help you sometimes know techniques to know to alter it. The fact is, I am not sure that I ever used this book. And I might not have even gotten it until I didn't have any more wedding dresses I ever did. I'm sure I did fancy dresses after this, but by then I knew what I was doing. So this one is an easy pass along to someone. All right, fine machine sewing. Yet again, alterations, and I do actually really like to sew. Normally I sew costumes for my kids, and sometimes for me in high school and plays I would help sew costumes, but this has a whole bunch of, I don't even know what this is called, where you put the lace in and cut it behind. Like, it has a whole bunch of stuff about that, which also is not my style. I'm not into ribbons too much, and I'm not into lace. And so it's not something I'm going to do. Something I would love to do more of, though, is make some more of my own clothes. I just am getting more into, like, what I would like to have is more like long wool skirts that people wore years and years ago that kept them warm and that kind of stuff. But there's just only so much time in a day. So, okay. Here's another home decorating book. I probably, who even knows if I bought this or just got it for free, because when people know you sew and they have sewed forever, it's just like canning. and they're getting out of it. They are so happy to share stuff that they have with someone else who's interested. So I think actually I will keep this. It goes into details of how to make slip covers or even to recover a chair. I did have Craftsy last year because it was a cheap price, and I watched a program about, you know what, I just realized I put this one book in the wrong place. About recovering, it was reupholstering chairs, which was really interesting, but I don't really have a chair right now that needs to be reupholstered, so, and I'm not going to remember all those steps well enough. Okay, so here's this book. I don't remember where this is from either. I mean, obviously it was from Ollie's at one point, but I didn't buy it at Ollie's because I don't think I've ever bought a quilting book from Ollie's. So this is where it gets a little trickier because quilts are more my thing that I do a lot of. But at the same time, if there's not any patterns in here that are interesting to me, there's really no reason to keep the book. It's not like years ago where, you know, I might have kept this because maybe the library didn't have any quilting books or just had one quilting book. And, you know, I might want to make a quilt in the future, or my kids might make a quilt or something, which is very true. There, Catherine, my daughter, is making a quilt. I think she showed it to you, the machine quilting she's been doing, and all of that. And this is a really cool book as far as it tells you exactly how to cut things and tells you all these different sizes. But yet again, so far, I'm not, even though I would love to do a whole cloth quilt. I don't know if you guys know what that is. So this is a whole cloth doll quilt. I actually don't have a big one on in here because normally, actually, if you do a huge, like a bed size quilt, you actually order, it's a single piece of fabric. You order the fabric and it will actually already have, like, these are the designs. It will already have those designs on the fabric. So it's just a white piece of fabric with a white piece of fabric on the back with binding or batting in the middle. And you just stitch it. And then, so, you know, the design in some ways is very subtle because it's just white, but it just is very pretty to me and very elegant. So I think this tree one's pretty. But besides the tree one, I don't know that there's any I really, really like. And even the tree one isn't crazy. This isn't, yeah, this is just, it's very small. These are very small quilts. A lot of them, like for doll beds or something. So I think, you know, I'm just going to pass because even though I like this pattern, I would have to do a lot of altering and figuring to make it work to be a project I want to make. Okay, so these two, they've actually looked the same even on the, I mean, have the same colors going on, but they're totally different. All right, so this is more reversible quilts. This was one of the first quilting classes I ever took. I kind of taught myself how to do lots of quilting stuff. And then I took some classes, which was, you know, is always good to do because you can always learn something. That's the thing about quilting classes. Every quilter has learned different things and has things to share with someone else, especially when you've taught yourself. You actually, it's kind of like twofold. In one way you don't learn things that everybody else knows. I have a friend who has quilted for decades, and just a couple of years ago, I was teaching her how to chain stitch pieces through, which most people consider pretty basic, but she actually learned from her mom, and her mom never did that. But then you also, maybe since you're making it up, if you don't have someone teaching you, you might figure out something, like design something by yourself. Okay, let me see how this gets turned around to the other side. Interesting. Okay, so this is a double-sided quilt thing, which is pretty cool, actually. I made, they both look like this when I made it. which is kind of hard to see. I'm trying to wonder if there's another picture like it. Where one side of the quilt, this is kind of a cool one. So one side of the quilt would look like that, and the other side would look like that. And you would probably somewhat quilt it at the same time. So anyhow, I made this just the easy diagonal one there, but both sides. So it's kind of like this, but this is not, it's not quite the coolest picture. But so we did it, one side was winter and one side was Christmas, and it's a twin size for bed. And so I could just flip it over. You know, you could have it for Christmas, which is a short time, but it's kind of cool to have Christmas quilts. And then you could flip it and have the winter side, which actually I have the quilt over here. So let me grab it and show you. Wasn't sure if I did. So obviously we did, because I was just thinking we didn't put it on anybody's bed this year. She used to always go on my oldest son Calvin's bed, basically because he probably was the first kid to be in a twin size bed. So it went on my bed when I made it because that's the size I had. So this is the winter side, which I really like these colors. And then this is the Christmas side. And I remember choosing these fabrics and with the help of the people at the quilt store, because I wasn't really very good at choosing fabrics either to make them match at this time. So if you see, it makes kind of this diamond in the middle, which is kind of cool too. And then it's Christmassy fabric. But I remember them telling me to use this green. They picked out this green for me to use for the sashing between the blocks. And I was not sure I liked it. I was not sure it was a good choice, but I'm not necessarily a very bold person, and definitely not at this time when I really didn't even know how to match colors. So I chose it and I really like it, but at the time I wasn't so sure. So yeah, so this is how it looks. I guess too, I could show you this side. Can you see? Let me find so these ones look a little different on this side than on the other side. They're just angled different. However, I put my blocks. So that was kind of cool. Anyhow, so there's that quilt. Anyhow, so I thought it was cool, and you know, I might make one of these again. And just because it really came together very fast. The blocks are big and the pieces are big, and so it just wasn't, you're sewing mostly just strips on your block. So it's very, very simple. All right, this is called Lone Star Quilts and Beyond. Now, I've always wanted to make a Lone Star quilt, and I tried only one time, I think, and it did not line up right, and I was frustrated and just stopped. So it actually would be awesome to take a class or something in Lone Star quilts, but unfortunately, you know, like post-COVID, there just isn't. I mean, there's starting to be more stuff, but plus we also moved away from it. You know, I lived in a town where there was a quilt guild, and now the closest quilt guild, I think, is 35 minutes away from me. So it just isn't, you know, as easy to go to with a family and everything. So I think I'm going to keep this. Maybe that can be part of my goal. This is the one I had, one of the ones I had marked. It's a dragonfly one. One of my goals for this year sometime soon is to learn, you know, how to, look at this. Isn't that beautiful how it goes in a circle? You know, learn how to do a Lone Star quilt, or try again. And if I can't get it, I don't know, ask for more help or just totally give up. Okay. This is Egg Money Quilts. This is a quilt. I bought this. I was going to teach a class, so I think that's why I bought it, unless I already took a class with it. I'm not sure how exactly I did it. But this is, I'm making a double wedding ring quilt. I've been making it, since before I was married, so probably 20-ish years. And I'm making it with these pieces where you just piece the triangles together. You piece these triangles, not triangles, like angled rectangle-y pieces together, and then you sew, this is a piece of fusible interfacing on it, so you sew on these black lines and then you turn it inside out. And then you iron it on your piece and then you stitch it either by hand or by machine. And I'm hand stitching it, and it's eggplant and olive are my colors. So that is something I'm working on. I also have this quilt, and I was going to teach a class, or made this quilt wall hanging as a wall hanging to teach a class, and nobody signed up for the class, and so I never ended up teaching it. Actually, it was this one. So I didn't end up teaching it, but I have it, but I don't know that I ever finished it. It might just be a top, because I sometimes struggle with finishing them because I'm just not sure what color or what pattern I want to use. And once you quilt it, it's kind of, I mean, you could undo it, but people don't normally. This was actually the pattern we used for our guest book at our wedding. And then we just had people sign in between the blocks. And then I pieced it after, actually. So anyhow, there's some cool samplers in here. So this is definitely a keeper. Might get rid of pile now. It's about the same height. They're the same. So, all right. Great American Quilts. I actually made this quilt. These exact colors. It's on our bed right now. So the question is there any other quilts in this one that I actually want to make? Let me push these apart so I can see when I'm flipping through it a little bit better. That's kind of cool, I admit. There's a whole lot of just pieces. All right, I think this might be a giveaway too. So put that in the giveaway pile. All right, last one. American Heritage Quilts. And I have some, it's like the binding's coming apart, and it's like in these pieces in here. So it's kind of interesting. Yeah, it's missing the first couple pages. Interesting. Okay, anyways, it's totally falling apart into pieces. So it is what it is, right? I do have some quilt books downstairs that are heritage based, because we did do our house in early American style, the edition that we added on. So I do have some books that go with that. And so here's a quilt. Actually, it's kind of like the one I just showed you that I made. That's in this one. So, okay, so I think I'll keep this one. There's history, little bits of history in it, and there are some quilts that I might possibly make at some point. That one's kind of cool. Very detailed, but I would think somewhat simple at the same time, because it's just straight pieces. Okay, well, awesome. So here is my stack to put back, which is not very many at all compared to what I started with. It's about exactly half as far as how much space it will take up. So that was great. Okay. Oh, I should show you my project that I'm working on. So let me take you over there because I've been working on the frog quilt. And so I showed you, I did the green, sorry about my hand. I did the green part last time, or for the last day I showed you. And then since then I've done this blue section. I've just kind of added these little, like, it's supposed to resemble kind of like some kind of plant. So I've got that done, and around here some. The other part, oh, okay, I was trying to remember what it was, is I just finished sewing all of this blue, like all the detail work that's down here. That's the water, because I'm not doing the blue that goes all around the edge as water, because it's supposed to change and be, you know, sand and that kind of stuff. So, okay. Well, thanks so much for joining me today, and I will talk to you another day. Thanks for joining me. I hope you are decluttering your craft room and enjoying the process. Talk to you later.